Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. And the topic for today is rather interesting and engaging. Today, we'll be looking at how to thrive as a solo HR practitioner. In other words, we'll be learning strategies for managing the HR function when you are the only person, the only man, or the only woman. You don't have any other team member, all right? And today, we have our facilitator who is ready and set to go. And I'll be introducing her briefly. Our facilitator for tonight is Akudo Inwizi, and she works as the head of HR with African Capital Alliance. Okay, I would just also like to say that our organization is a private equity firm, and they are into multiple sectors of the economy, which include real estate, fintech, oil and gas, and so on and so forth. Okay, it's essentially an asset management company in addition to the several other things they do. She joined the organization in the year 2015. She has been responsible for defining and driving the people agenda across the group while partnering with the firm's leadership. She started her career at Zenith Bank PLC, okay, and she subsequently joined the management consulting team at KPMG Advisory Services. She was with KPMG between 2006 to 2015. Her experience at KPMG cuts across people and change services, enterprise-wide transformation, organizational development, change management, policies redesign, strategy definition, and system implementation. She had also worked for clients in various industries. Akudo holds a BSc in sociology and anthropology from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. She's certified as a global practitioner in human resources, GPHR, and she's an associate of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria. She also has an MBA, Master's in Business Administration from the Bradford University School of Management, and a Strategic Human Resource Leadership Certificate from Cornell University. I hope you are aware that we are in for a jolly ride tonight. Please, let's show some virtual emotions and emoticons. Let's receive her to the virtual lectern with some warmth and affection. You have the floor, Akudo. Thank you for joining tonight.
Thank you very much, Yemi. Thank you. I think the summary of everything is I'm here to add value to everyone here, everyone who's listening here and everyone who's listening after. Thank you for this platform, Yemi. Thank you. I think what it does, it adds a lot of value to the HR community, and it just provides a platform where you can learn, you understand what's happening, and it's not just in Nigeria, it's really across the globe, right? So I want to say thank you very much, Yemi. Thank you. So let's just jump straight in. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll be talking about how to thrive, and if you see the title, right, thriving as a solo HR practitioner, and Yemi said it so well. You are the only one in the HR function and you are required to deliver, right? What do you need to do? Now, the thinking is not that all the knowledge or all the things I'm going to share here is everything. And so what will happen is if there are comments, post this session, please share your comments. And I'll also be open to sort of answer questions because I think that's very relevant. The intent is for us to learn, the intent is for us to grow, the intent is for us to change and sort of be very valuable to the organizations where we're in. So let's just start off, right? And sort of that serves as an introduction. So the thinking here is what are the strategies that are required to managing the HR function as a team of one when you're the only one? Now, the key discussion area, so what we're going to be looking at, right, is what is the responsibility of HR? Because I think the thinking here is if you understand what is core, especially when you're a team of one, you do not have the time to just do everything, right? At every point in time, you must focus your effort. At every point in time, you must focus your time. At every point in time, you can focus your resources, right? So the first thing is, what is even your responsibility in that organization you are in as HR? That's the first thing. Let's just talk about that. I think the second thing is to say, when you think of the solo HR person in a business context, right? Why exactly do businesses usually have, only just one individual driving HR? I think the thinking also, just to get an understanding, because it helps you as you are in that function, so you don't get disgruntled or impatient. And it's also a learning journey. When you're a HR of one, it's a learning journey because no one can take you with that experience. I think the third thing we're going to talk about is just my learnings, right? And it's real life learnings. What I've seen, makes an individual effective when they're the only ones in HR. So let's just dive in. All right. So the first thing is, what is the responsibility of HR, right? What is it, right? What should be your focus when you're the HR person? And let me leverage what Lumen Learning, and I was looking for different definitions, right? I really like the Lumen Learning one, and so let's just look at that, right? So the thinking here is, and I will read it out and we'll talk about it. So Lumen Learning says the goal of HR is to ensure that an organization, remember, organization doesn't only mean profit, both profit and non-profit, not for profit, right? An organization has the right skills, has the right abilities, and has the right knowledge to implement its strategy, right? The second part says in practice, that means making sure that the key elements of HR are aligned with organization strategy. Now, the key elements of HR here is highlighted on purpose, right? Now, so let's take it, right? The goal of HR is to ensure that an organization has rights, meaning that, right, the first thing an individual needs to know is, what is the strategy of this organization? What is the strategy? What are you supposed to do? What is the organization supposed to do? And what is your role in helping the organization achieve it, right? Every year, at the beginning of the financial year of the organization, whether it be January, June, October, whatever it is, the organization defines the direction it's taking. Sometimes when you have smaller organizations, that direction is not a formal coming to a place to have a meeting. Sometimes it is. If that owner, right, if the owner of the organization sort of wants that to happen, everyone is gathered into a room, we define a strategy, and this is our strategy, right? Sometimes it's not very clear, right? But the point is, the owner of the organization has a direction for that business, right? Our responsibility as HR is to get a sense of that strategy, right? Get ahead of that picture, and then ask yourself, as HR, how is HR going to help this organization achieve its strategy? How are the key elements of HR going to be adapted so that that strategy is defined? Remember, sometimes this strategy changes mid-year, different times of the year. Sometimes you define a 5-year strategy, and as you're going, certain things change. The role of HR is to adapt so that as the strategy changes, your strategy as HR changes. So the thinking here is, the corporate strategy is here, HR strategy is feeding from it, and it continues to feed from it, because there's no way the organization can succeed, right, if HR is not feeding off it, right? Because the objective is, as HR is fulfilling strategy, and if the strategy definition process is defined well, if the process goes well, it then means that as the strategy is defined, every function defines the strategy. And so as the functions are achieving their strategy, including of HR, is achieving what the corporate strategy wants to achieve. Now, let's look at what Peter Drucker said. He said, culture is strategy for breakfast. People have tried to refute, people have tried to adapt. He's even taken it and added to it, right? But this saying, when you think of it, is true. In very simple English, what does this mean? Is that no matter how fancy your strategy is, if your culture does not support that direction, you're not going to achieve anything. Even if you say you want to drive growth, right, in the southern region of Africa, South Africa, or the southern regions of Africa, right? And the culture does not enable that to happen, you're not going to achieve it. Now, what is culture? Just what is culture? So let's just make it very simple. The objective is not to confuse anyone, right? Culture is simply the fact of culture is simply how people behave, right? I'm sure there are more, should I say, funky definitions, right? But when you bring it down to it, culture is the way things are done in a particular in a particular environment, in a particular location, in a particular organization. And so you find out that if, no matter what English you are speaking, if people, right, have a culture where where individuals in the organization cannot speak up, right? If that's the culture, meaning that you have supervisors that lord it over the staff, right? And people cannot speak and bring ideas. Essentially what it is that you're limited only to your supervisor's thinking. And that is a dangerous place to be in, right? Now, that culture is not going to drive the achievement of your strategy. So you need to be asking yourself, what culture do I have in my organization? And the reason why culture is important to HR is because people drive culture. Culture doesn't just jump on anybody's lap. It is people that propagate culture. Meaning that if you want to change the culture of an organization, you have to change the way people behave, the way people respond. And that's why it is in our bucket. That is why it's our responsibility as HR. As we partner with the owners of the firm, as we partner with the leaders of the firm, as we ourselves, the leaders, partner with the leaders, the thinking here is, what is our culture? And if that hasn't happened, right, it is important to know that has to happen. You know how organizations have core values, vision, mission, core values? What is the objective of core values? What's the objective? The objective is X, Y, and Z is how I want my people to behave, because we believe that if my people behave like this, right, we will achieve what we want to achieve. Whether the strategy of year 1 or year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, this is what we think is important to us. Now, sometimes what happens is that organizations go on and say, oh, you know, this set of values, we think we should think about it and check if this really is what we want, right? Now, it doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make much sense if you have a core set of values and the only place you can see it is your website and it's not being translated to any other thing. If your core values is pasted in your reception, or is in your HR manual, or is just sitting there on your website, what is the value of that? The reason how you get that to be infused into your culture, so that your culture enables your strategy instead of eating it up, is how you bring it out to function. I was listening to some webinar and a lady was talking about her book. So I think something about, values coming out to play or something of that sort. Essentially what it means is, how do you ensure that your values, and think about it, we're HR people here. How do you ensure that your values, what you have defined, what the organization has defined, how do you ensure it comes out to function? How does that happen? Now, remember, we're talking about responsibility as HR. Responsibility as HR, number one, and really importantly, is to ensure that our organization achieves its purposes. We know our organization needs to achieve that, and we're responsible. And we know that our role is tied to culture. How do we ensure our culture fits? Is ensuring that our people are functioning so that that culture is supporting the strategy. How do you ensure that your core values are translated to your culture? When you're looking to recruit people, how are those core values thought about and thought of when you're interviewing and you're shortlisting a candidate? When you're training people, how are those values thought about? When you are praising people and rewarding people, how are those values thought about? If you don't take those core values and look at how to implement it, it's going to be stuck in a document. And so what I want to ask is, post this session, go and look at your core values and ask yourself, how is it being translated? Because it will help you. So, and that's being strategic, right? It will help you support your business, because you're then thinking about how to ensure that your culture enables your business to thrive, right? So we've talked about the first part, what is our responsibility as HR? And we've said our responsibility as HR is to help the organization to achieve a strategy, whether it is not for profit or a profit organization. I think the second part is business context and the solo HR, right? So I think the first, so it's really a simple thing we discuss here, so I don't think we'll take too much time, but the thinking here is, why do solo HRs exist? Why do they exist, right? And then what are the key challenges they face, right? So solo HRs exist because sometimes the organization is small, right? Cannot afford more than one. The business has just grown through a period where they're still thinking about whether the strategy or whether the product is viable. So they've gone past whether the product is viable. They've started recruiting people, right? There are compliance matters that exist. So the individual says, you know what, I think I need a HR person to handle my people matter, to handle my compliance matter. I am going to get a HR person. And so you find out, because the individual cannot afford, right, to get more than one person, and because really it's not a large organization, one person should do, right? And so a person is brought in here. I think another point is sometimes organizations can't afford to get it. But I think in terms of the model, right, it is adapting so that there's increased efficiency. So they flog out the efficiency, right, before they start loading up with too many people. So sometimes even when they have the resources and financial resources to get more than that, I think the question is to say, okay, so we have this HR person and we're going to support this HR person with external consultants, and we're going to work with this person, right? And so sometimes that's the model that is there, right? I think whatever context it is, the thinking here is that we don't feel bad or we don't feel frustrated because we're the solo HR people. I think the objective is to make the most of the situation. And I know it can be frustrating. I know HR, especially post-COVID, is gotten us to a new level because we need to be more, of people, right? It's not just about a document somewhere. I was listening to something when the individual said, HR is a full contact spot. You can't be in your office defining something and come out to show it to people. No, your role is right where the people are, right? Whatever you're defining, it has to be adapted to fit the organization, to fit the people, right? You must be able to support management. You must be able to support the people. You must be able to support everyone, right? What are the challenges we'll see? And I know it's singing to the choir because we know it. I think the capacity to deliver as a solo HR person, you have limited capacity, you have limited resources. And so really that's the key challenge, right? So you should ask yourself every single time you're getting your work done, is that how exactly do I use whatever resources that are available to me? That is the question you need to keep asking yourself. Okay, so I need to get this done. I need to get this done. I'm alone here, but what can I pull upon, right? So that's what so everything from my learning I'm going to share is how you can pull upon different resources and different things to be able to get your role, to achieve your role as a solo HR, right? So let me then start off. Okay, so I think the first part of my learning, right, is the fundamentals are critical. So I know you want to do certain fancy things. There's a lot of fancy things that can be done. There's job grading. There's a lot of fancy things. Fancy. Now, the reason why I say fancy it's not because they're not critical. So don't take it, not because they're not critical. It depends on the stage of the organization you are in, right? If you're in a more advanced, if your organization has grown, right, and you have resources, but you're still the solo HR person, certain things may have already been established, right? And so you then do all the other things. But in most cases, a number of things haven't been established. And so as you're doing every other thing, it's important to know, as you're thinking of every other thing, it's important to know fundamentals are fundamentals. And at this point in time, it is critical that in the most efficient manner, you achieve the fundamentals. Let me give you an example. We need to grow our business in, let's say, Kenya, for example, right? Or we need to grow our business in the southeast of Nigeria, right? You need to recruit someone. Doesn't matter what anyone is saying, the business strategy or direction is that we need to get someone. There may be sort of fancy things that need to be happening. Some job grading, some this, some this, some this. In everything you're doing, you need to make sure that you achieve the fundamentals, which is go and get the person required for the business. Prioritize your time in such a way you're asking yourself, these fundamental things, how do I achieve it? Because you know that these things are critical to getting the business off, to driving the growth of the business. Remember, we don't have, it's an interesting market we're in because you need to get skills and the competition out there for the skill you need, that same skill you need, the competition for it is high. So spending that useful time to get the fundamentals in is important. Another example, training, for example. Now we've said we want our salespeople to sell this particular product. Have you trained them? What is the best way to train them? Who is the best person to train them? What platform should they use? And remember, the focus here is also in the most efficient manner. You don't have all the money. Whether you're a big organization or a small organization, the dollars or the naira that has been given to you to spend, what is the most efficient way to spend it? That's the question you should be asking. If I'm thinking of competitive compensation, what is the most effective way to ensure that my comp attracts and retains my people? If you're thinking of compliance, what do I need to do to ensure that I'm fully compliant across whatever jurisdictions I'm functioning in? Whether I'm in Europe, whether I'm in US, whether I'm in Ghana, whether I'm in Egypt, whether I'm in Lagos, whether I'm in Ogun State. What does OJRS want? What do I need to provide? So the question you should ask yourself is, how am I achieving these fundamentals? They're fundamental things. What is fundamental? Write it down. What are the fundamental things? And what's the best way to achieve it in a very efficient manner? No matter how fancy things are, at this stage of solo HR is that you should make sure you achieve the fundamentals. The second part is leverage resources. Now you say, what resources do I have? I'm the only one. I think the question is, who can you leverage both internally and externally? Which internal resource, maybe a junior person within the firm, right, that is available to help me do certain things? Who do I have externally that can work with me? Now, there are some things I wrote here. What networks do you have? It could be internal, it could be external. It could be a race group. It could be a network from your school, right? It could be a network from somewhere. What information, what do I need to leverage to help me get my work done? Because the question, you've written down the fundamentals. The question is, who is then going to help me get it? And really think, well, trust me, It is when you think, right, that you will be able to identify, oh, this person cannot do this, but I think this person can do this. The skill of delegation, it's a critical skill you have to learn when you're a solo HR. It is important anyway, whether you're solo or not, but especially when you're solo, you have to step back and ask yourself, what are the things I need to do and what can I farm off? What can I farm off, right? Something here said, leverage leaders to sell your case. You don't have to do it alone. You're leveraging leaders not so that they just say yes. You're leveraging them to bounce off some of the ideas that you have. And don't be afraid of people that resist HR. Many people are afraid, oh, this person in this business unit is always coming down on HR hard. Maybe that person has had a bad experience. Maybe they want HR and HR didn't hear. Or they just think that you're just a cost center, you're not adding more value. Look for a way to have a conversation with that person. Look for a way. Now, let me tell you, people could be, there are people that may be difficult, that you've tried and it didn't work. Let's say there are those people, but there are people that you may not have tried, or you've tried before, and you're asking, what is the strategy to get this person? Many times during an interview, ask interviewers, have you ever dealt with a difficult boss? We find out that the people that know would say, this person wasn't, yes, this person is regarded as difficult, but it is because this is the reason why. This is this is how this person thinks. This is what this person expected. And so because I didn't bring it this way. So it's knowing how to manage people. Leverage leaders to sell your case, to let your case be more value adding to the business. And have the inner sense that tells you when someone is giving you feedback. It doesn't mean you take it hook, line, and center. What it does is to help you factor in and adjust your plan, right? It will recognize, because you need to recognize what people are saying. You need to recognize what that leader is saying, right? You need to know what's happening, right? Talk to different people from different businesses, right? Talk to different heads. Talk to your colleagues that are heads also. Bounce off what you want to present. Bounce off your case. The intent is not to get yes people in the room. The intent is to be able to ensure that your strategy is workable so that the business moves forward. Remember, the end point is for us to lift and grow and drive our business forward. I put in manager training because you are responsible for people, right? Managers are also responsible for their people. Helping managers understand their role helps you in getting your work done. There are all those things that say that people leave managers, right? Some situations where people just leave organizations, right? But it is worth it because the individual is working directly with a manager. It is important that you train your managers, and it's not about talking down. It's about guiding. It's about, it could be a formal training. It could be an informal training. It could be a normal conversation. It could be a plea to their side, right? The end point is you're helping them see, right, how leading people in this century is, how helping their people to develop, how moving their people forward adds to the growth of the business, right? And remember, the objective is not to condescend. The objective is to, you recognize that this person is a manager, has a merit as a manager, right? And the intent is to help this person to get to the next level. Because I think great leaders should be able to lead people. It's not about going in a direction, it's also moving people up, right? So look for how to train your managers, because once you train your managers, those are resources that can help you. You have less people coming directly to you to report, right? Because the managers are doing their role as managers. Managers are not only responsible for growing the business, they are responsible for growing the business's people that are under them. I put in CIPM here, very valuable resource. There are different sessions that are happening. There are different things. leverage CIPM. We have, and the point is what it does, it brings it into context of our Nigerian environment, right? Now, as you continue to function across borders, right, you're also leveraging SHRM, you're also leveraging HRCI, you're also leveraging those platform, Hacking HR, whatever it is, right? You're leveraging your NIS platform, you're taking in, you're consuming, don't ever stop learning, right? Because those are resources you can use. A question, oh, what am I going to do about this? Oh, what am I going to do? Then you're going back and you're saying, oh, this is what I'm going to do. This is a resource I'm leveraging, right? So I think the third one is prioritize. Again, you don't have the time. I think I'm not tired of saying it. You don't have the time. Prioritize. Remember, we talked about fundamentals and we talked about frills. Now, what's stated here is know the core, the can and should be done, and the frills that can be managed. Now, frills doesn't mean unnecessary. Frills just mean there's a way you can manage it in such a way that what is core gets done and what is core to building the business gets done. So for example, if you need to present to your board, right? What needs to be in those decks, in the presentation slides? What needs to be there? How do you cut straight to the matter? So you're not spending a minute more in putting together that deck. If you need to talk to a supervisor or you need to have a town hall meeting because something needs to be shared, how efficient do you need your time and people's time to be in such a way that you go there, you hit the mark, you create time to get feedback, you create time to listen to people. Remember, HR is a full contact sport. You create time to listen to people. Many times when I have conversations with people, sometimes people pass and think, it's just someone gisting on the corridor. Every conversation I have, even if it is, wow, this rain is, you are building a connection. You are building a connection with the person you're speaking to, whether the person is junior, whether the person is senior. You are not wasting your time spending time with an individual. But at the same time, you need to know, this is what I need to do. This is how efficient I need to use my time. You don't have time. Whether you're a solo HR or you're not, you don't have the time. So the question is, how do you manage what I need to do so that I make the most of the resources that I have? Know the core that needs to be done and should be done and do it. And the frills that can be pushed off for another time can be, right? Another thing I've learned, for you to keep adding value to your business, keep adding value to yourself. Add value to yourself. Now, it's not just about HR, because it is important to know your onions. Again, fundamentals. You cannot say you want to represent as HR when you do not know your onions. So you must know your onions. That is taken care of. And you must spend the time to know your onions. Whether you're listening to something in traffic, or you're spending time to read a book, or you're looking through, you're joining networks, you're reading through chats, not because you want to waste time. You want to say, oh, they've said something about the labor law in Nigeria changing. What exactly is happening here? What exactly is changing? You must know your onions in HR. That is given. Then what you also need to do is know what's happening in the economy, know what's happening in politics, know what's happening in finance. Know what's happening. It doesn't change you. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't make you less anything. Spend that time understanding what's happening on the news. What's happening? What did the CBN governor do? What is inflation rate at now? What is the exchange rate now? What are they saying about the budget, right? What are they saying about politics? What are they saying about macro, right, over Africa? What are they saying in Kenya? What are they saying? What's the US doing? around his currency, right? Is there a squeeze coming from there? What's happening in Russia? It doesn't belittle you. Just get that quality, be a quality person, continuously increase your value, be that quality person. Because your mindset functions in the frame of what you're taking in, right? Another very important thing is be a true business partner. Be a true business partner, be a true business partner, be a true business partner. You must, as we said earlier, define your strategy based on the strategy of the business. Understanding where your business operates in the wider climate or in the wider landscape adds value to what you're doing. Know your business. How do you make money as a business? And if you're not for profit, what kind of impact are you seeking to achieve? And what is the focus on getting that impact done? What industry are you in? Who is your competition? What operating model exists in your industry? We already talked about strategy. What exactly are you in? Is your business making a loss? Is it making a profit? What does it require to make a profit? What does it require to expand to another market? What exactly is happening? Who is the new competition that's coming? What is the regulation saying about the business? What is the government saying? Is there a new policy that has suddenly come up and restricted our performance? What is the SEC saying? Who are the regulators in my business? You cannot, you are the only person in HR. Therefore, you have no choice but to be a true business partner. You have no choice. Because what the solutions you're going to come with has to be tailored to what the business wants to achieve. And you are able to catch different risks, right? When you're thinking of the SWOT of your business, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. What is it? That understanding helps you to be more effective in your role as a solo person there. Grow your emotional intelligence and people management skills, as I told you. Every time I spend with people, no time is spent lost. No time. Whether you're spending 10 minutes or 15 minutes talking to an interviewer, debriefing an interview that just happened, and then you talk about other things, maybe about their family, about the traffic, those things help you. Emotional intelligence, being able to read the room. And that's why when you're about making a presentation, you should be asking yourself, who is the audience in there? What are the different priorities that are sitting in the room? What do different people need? That's where you're able to direct your conversation so that people are met, and you're anticipating the kind of questions that are going to come, and you're crafting your deck in such a way that you're responding to it. Grow your emotional intelligence, and it is learned. You can also get a coach to help you. There are so many senior people in the industry. There are so many senior people. Yemi is one of them. There are so many senior people. You can just ask, can you provide direction? Can you help me with this? How did you do this? How did you do this? There are people available that are available to help. Grow your emotional people management skills. Again, apologies, I sound like a broken record, but remember, HR is a full contact sport, meaning that you cannot be, you're not R&D, right? Or a person on the factory floor that works with the machines, right? Or works in the lab with a beacon or something. Your role is people. Therefore, this is not an option. And it's also important being able to manage your emotion. It's very important, because the point is, not everybody is going to ask the reason why, if that's why you then get sharpened and sharpened, because you're able to then hear what the person's point of view is, listen to it, adapt what you're going to present, adapt how you're going to sell the case. And it could be flat out refused. And this is what I recommend. It's not happening. It's important not to take it too much to heart. People are people. They don't always have to agree with you, right? The end point is, okay, this person disagreed. Learn why this person disagreed and say, okay, so this way, okay, so how do I help? How do I sell this case better? Oh, but this person is right too. I think this one cannot even work. Let me go on to the next thing. Remember, fundamentals, prioritize. You don't have time, right? The other part is no delay of the land. That's another one. No delay of the land. Simply put, what are the laws? What are the regulations? Whether it is local, whether it is global. What is the labor law saying? Who are the regulators in your industry? You must be a trusted advisor. Again, you can have business owners. The money is scarce, resources are scarce, right? And compliance with certain regulatory things would not be number one. They want to grow the business. Your role is to provide the advice. Your role is to provide the implication of not meeting those rules and regulations. Remember, we have the labor court. Remember, we have the labor court, right? And you can't just do what you want to do. And even for the benefit, for the general, whether you're the employer or employee, right? No delay of the land. Know it cold wherever you're functioning, right? Now, the reason why I'm emphasizing it in places where they have larger firms, right? Where you have someone functioning out of somewhere, someone functioning out of there, what you can then do is that you are then listening to those people and asking questions. Remember, there was a session that happened last week, I think, on how to manage HR teams across jurisdictions. So you have people you can leverage. Now you're the only one. What you then need to do is, can the business afford consultants in those locations to provide you support, because those guys know the lay of the land, right? Or can you just ask, can you just read what, leverage? The point is you have networks. There are networks. In the HR community, you cannot lack networks. If you lack networks, it means that you just don't want to find. One thing you can do to solve your network problem, reach out to Yemi and ask him a question. I know Yemi, he would respond. Another thing, just in the interest of time, another thing is create time to think strategically. You see how plain this page is, how plain it is, right? You are the only one in HR. You still have the wild wind you have to deal with. You still have the activities. Please, my brother, my sister, you need to take time out to clear your head and think of what is critical. It is very difficult because you have a lot of work to do, but do it, you must. You will not have as much time to do it as if you were a larger team, but as much as you can, push your laptop back. You can even close it, get a notebook and think. What did we set out this year to do? What did the organization set out to do? What was the discussion at the last management meeting? What is the strategy still? Is my HR strategy still fitting up with this to achieve this? Right? Mean by HR strategy, would I help achieve the business strategy? Okay, this HR strategy, do I need to adapt it? Okay, it's still fine. Okay, what are the things that we need to do? Where are we at? What do I need to leverage? Trust me, even an hour of stepping back adds a lot of value to your work. Do not start the day without a to-do list. It is a crime, punishable by whatever. Do not start your day without a to-do list. Do not start your day. Because what a to-do list does, it takes you out from the crowd. Some people do it early in the morning when they wake up, right? While everywhere is still quiet. Some people do maybe when they come in early in the morning into the office when everywhere is still quiet. However you do it, whether it's at midnight, however you want to do it, always step out to think strategically. Just think, what exactly does business want to achieve? What exactly is, how is HR helping? How exactly am I helping to achieve that HR strategy or achieve the corporate strategy? In the interest of time, I'll be fast. Leverage technology. Leverage technology. You have it now, right? You have a laptop, you have Excel, right? So certain things should not be done manually, right? I'm talking about Excel because, yeah, it advances to the application, it advances to all those things, but even first Excel, what's the most efficient way to get this done, right? If you can get an affordable application to use, sell the case and sell the case with data. Sell the case with data. This is the benefit of getting this. This is how much it costs. However, this is the benefit. These are the benefits. This is what it will save us in terms of cost. This is what it will bring us in terms of value, right? And sell the case. First of all, whatever you are selling in terms of technology that you want to deploy or you want to introduce, you must be able to ensure that you are getting the best options. You are really, because the point is, every time you're thinking of working in an organization, think of it as if it's your business. You will not spend money on things that don't add value to your business. So the same mindset you should have, the same mindset you should have when you're doing your role as HR. If I will not spend my money, if I will not get if I will not enter this kind of contract with this recruiter, I should not allow my organization to do it, right? If I'm selling, if I want a HR application, at this stage of our business, we don't have money. We cannot be getting a 20 million naira or whatever $1,000 or pounds or euros or cephas application, right? What is the most we can achieve that will give us the most efficient value, right? Because we need to get this done. Remember, you don't have time. So the little, all those whirlwind thing, all this, you need to be able to bring in such a way that you deal with it, right? So that you have time, to deal with other things, right? So as much as things that you do frequently, need to comply to some regulatory things. You need to get salary done. You need to do this. There's some things that are just, doesn't need too much complex thinking, but it must be done because it's required as regulatory. Look for the efficient way to do it, leverage technology. And whatever technology you need the business to buy, you must be able to ensure you're getting the most efficient one and the most affordable one that gets the best value. It doesn't mean that it should not be cost anything, but be able to be convinced that this is good for the business and be able to sell it, right? So leverage technology, leverage technology. The last thing before I stop is stay motivated. HR is not an easy thing to do. I'm sure all the other functions will say, yes, my function is also not easy. But I think these days, post-COVID, has been really just mental health. And it's not just yours only, right? You're responsible for other people. People are having real stuff going on, right? People want to see their organization, seeing them as an individual and not as a worker, right? And not as a resource, right? This person is an individual, has a life, there are things going on. You need to stay motivated because you need to refine. There's something they said somewhere where, and it's normal stuff when we enter the plane, they say, put your mask on before helping a child. You need to be okay for you to help your organization. Find safe places to share frustration. It could be people internally within your organization. It could be your family, right? It could be someone senior, your coach in HR. It could be just someone, right? Your parents, it could be your sibling, it could be your spouse. Just look for somewhere where you can share your frustration, where you know that you can be heard, where someone can hear you, understand you, and you need to ease that burden. Mental health is a thing and it is key. So please take care of yourself. With all this work that has to be done, you need to be fine first. But you need to realize that it's a lot of work. for people to thrive, right, they need to, there's a lot of work required to thrive. When you see a bean seed, a bean seed is put on the ground, right? It breaks up the hard ground and then comes up. It's not an easy journey, but there's work required for a beanstalk to come up, right? There's work required for you to thrive as a HR person. There's work required. But I think if you could leverage some of these things, right, I think it would be a great one. And just keep on learning. Keep on learning. I'm just one source. You can keep on learning from other people. So I'll pause at this point in time for questions that you want to ask, or I'll hand over to you, Yemi. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Akudo, for that exciting, insightful knowledge sharing session.
You're welcome, Yemi. Hello, Yemi, are you here? Okay, so let me see what's in the chat. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. So I don't know if Yemi is still here, but I think in the meantime, let me, okay, let me see if I can answer any of the questions that came up here. Yes, thank you, Yemi. See, Yemi has provided. Yemi is back. Yemi, I was going through the questions to see if I could answer any, but I'll hand over to you now.
Yeah, please go ahead with any question you might have already spotted.
Okay, I'm still looking though. I haven't seen any yet. Okay, so someone says, how do you thrive in an organization that doesn't allow or give room for its HR to function properly? Yeah. So I think it is for you to try the best you can. I mean, I would say for you to try the best you can with what you have, right? And I know, because I think the question is, why do you think that that's happening? Why do you think there's resistance? Do you think maybe there's no money, or is it the way things are being presented, things are being sold? What exactly is it? So first get a sense of what exactly is the reason why. Again, remember I said something like small businesses, they actually don't have the money so solo HR means when there's only one person in the HR department or HR function. So in those situations, the business don't quite have the resources, and they don't want to hear compliance is this, or sometimes the business owners or some supervisors, there's a reality of where managing people has gone to now post-pandemic. You need to be sort of more aware of people, right? In those situations, you can try as much as you can. Now there are situations where you keep trying. If I put it the way someone said, they said, some people will not change, right? Some people are just not ready to, let the organization take on the help that HR gives. And so it's important that you try as much as you can sell. But after that, if you think it's just not working, then maybe you can move on, right? But try as much, just get a sense. Those experiences you can never take, you can never lose on those experiences of selling what the case is for HR. It may be just the way you are selling it. Okay, as a solo HR, how can you prioritize tasks? you know, there's a bit of what is urgent and what's important. Remember that 4x4? You need to be asking yourself, what is urgent, what's important? So when you do the 4x4, the question is, what's urgent, what's important, what is it? So first of all, write everything that needs to be done. Sometimes when I do my to-do, right, it captures everything. Now, it doesn't mean I'm doing it. I mean, okay, so let me go back to when I was solo, right? It doesn't mean I'm doing every single thing, right? What it is that I have everything there. What your responsibility now is, what is the impact of me not doing those things? Who do I need to leverage? Do I have a recruiter that is supposed to be working for me on this? Has the person come back to me? What can I quickly do before I get it out? So prioritize based on important and urgent, prioritize based on that. And then you're able to get a sense of what needs to go out. Now, compliance things are always very important. So it's important that that goes out. And also what is critical to the business achievement of business strategy. Can you co-opt other employees? Yes. It's been done several times. Yes, it's been done. Very good question. You actually can, you can get someone to, and the point is, what that would do is that it's not easy because you have to put in the time to train the person to do it. Invest that time. So if you want a receptionist, right, or someone to do something, and that's what we're talking about, leverage internal resources. If you know there's someone, maybe someone in admin, right, or maybe someone in finance, right, maybe your role is related, and this person can actually do a part of it for you. It's not confidential, the person can do it. If it is just even, I need someone to even check in LinkedIn for certain profiles, from when the person checks in LinkedIn from those profiles, then I'll be able to make the contact. You need to guide the person first. You need to be able to make the investment to train the individual so that when the individual goes, there's also going to be constant guiding, but that's the investment you make for you to leverage external resources. Let me see. Aziza, can you leverage on color for some players if the company can afford? Yes. So I mentioned it earlier. So you have to sell. Okay, now say something, right? It depends on where the stage of the company is. Some companies actually have a solo HR because they want to be able to drive efficiency, not because they don't have money for consultants, right? So the solo HR is leveraging on recruiters and all that, right? Some people actually don't have the money. Now, what I've found out in working with consultants and recruiters, you need to ensure that you're negotiating very well for the benefit of the organization. And so in real life, where you see it is, if your recruiter is working with you, can you do whatever call it? Can you do a percentage payment after the candidate has resumed in your organization? That way, you're not taking the risk of a recruiter going out and recruiter not finding. You don't have the money, right? A consultant can be working with you on maybe a compensation survey. Like if you have money, you can leverage that, right? It's more efficient, right? A consultant can be working with you on, some people use consultants for their compliance, right? Or I don't know what to do with NSITF. I don't know what to do with ITF. You can do that. Some consultants are used for immigration, right? So if your organization has money, use those consultants. If your organization does not have the money, then you then need to look at most affordable ways to get work done and help the business grow without those consultants. Let me look again. Okay. Very good question. Very good question. Very good question. I think the point here is you need you first of all need to ensure, for the benefit of the organization, right? You need to ensure that your data, your information, if you leave now, right? Now, The reason why I say it is because, remember, some businesses don't have money to have more than one person. In such a situation, right, you need to ensure that everything you have is well put together. So whoever is taking over from you takes over very well. The second part is the person you report to could be the person that could hold forth when you resign, right? And so the person you report to is holding forth while you resign. The other part is selling the case to your business. If your business has grown in such a way that you know clearly, we are now growing, that our people matters are no more simple, it's complex now. We need to get somebody to work with the HR function. That is when you then sell the case to have a junior HR person. Because what then happens is that if there's any risk of you stepping out, the junior person can take over, right, before a replacement is gotten at the senior level. So those are from my own perspective, and I'll pause for comments to come in. From my own perspective, those are the ways that you can help succession planning. Ensure that your data is not just in your head. I know you can't transfer everything there. There's a key man risk. That's solo HR. There's key man, you are the key man risk, right? Ensure that your data information is there. If someone takes over from the person can find it and sort of help your organization and be available even by phone call so you can help the business and the business doesn't feel too crippled, right? The other part is your supervisor above you, whoever you report to, maybe the MD or whoever it is, can help you. And then having a junior person in firm can afford it. How can say a successful HR and then show their value? I think for me, I think it's driving back to how the business has achieved strategy by what you have done. It's not just talk. It's not just motions without movement, right? It is not motions without movement. There has to be movement. And how you sell the value is how your motion has caused movement. It's not about how the duck is, or how we're rowing a boat viciously, or how the duck is paddling his feet. It's how the duck and the boat are moving and staying afloat. If the duck is paddling his feet and the duck is not staying afloat, then there's no value to the duck paddling his feet. The success is measured by the achievement of the business. If we say the business needs to grow in a particular region, right? And you have worked with your management, you've listened to them. Remember, you're listening and learning to management. You've listened and learned and saying, this is how we need to achieve. You agree with them, this is what it is. Then go and do it. And the way you are selling your value is showing how you have contributed to the business. And they want to, and how you are a business partner to the business, right? You're not just staying in a cubicle, right? And just say, oh, the people. Is you're saying you understand where the business direction is. You can have a conversation about the business direction, right? You are giving you're giving peace to the leaders that rely on you. You're a leader yourself, right? But you're giving peace to other leaders and to the owners of the organization. You may be in management team, but you're also adding value, right? So it comes down to what value has a business saying they're making, and how do you know the business? How do you know the business? How can you talk about the business? Correct. Yeah, so Abdul Malik talks about having an established working system. Yeah. The only thing, correct, Abdul Malik. The only thing is that if the organization can afford to get a junior person, and they've evolved to that point where the people challenges or the people matters are now more complex, it's important that a junior person is brought in. But yes, full documentation so that you are not, everything is not in your head. I mean, that's why you're leveraging technology. Yeah. Don't know if there's any other question near me. Aha, I see more questions. Okay. They demonstrate their value. Okay. Another question from me. Okay. How can Solidar ensure that they are providing equal support and resources to all employees, regardless of their position? A very good question. How can Hitso ensure that they are providing equal support and resources So it's important you listen, right? I think the thing is that you cannot provide support if you're not even hearing what they're saying. It's important, in as much as you are brought in by the board, by management, whoever it is, the value to the business is that you're listening to the people. The value to the people is that you're listening to management. You cannot be on one side and not be on the other side. You have to be on both sides, right? How you give equal support and resources, in my opinion, and more people can speak from my experience, is that you have to first of all hear what they're saying. That's why those times you're walking on the corridor, those times people come into your office, those times you have those, you're having lunch in the office or something, where you can hear what people are saying. Hear what people are saying. Sometimes your mind, you're wondering, how will I solve this problem? Just know it, because there are certain conversations that those people will not be privy to, that you are privy to as HR. You are able to bring those matters to the fore, right? You're able to say, this is how people think about this situation. It's not really easy. This transport situation is not easy. How do we solve it? Is there a way we can do that? You must listen to them first of all. And you should just be there, right? If a person says they need some information to be brought to them or something, you must be able to provide just equal support. When you have the mindset that one person is as important as the other person, right? It's not because this person is a manager or this person is a supervisor, therefore I'll listen to a staff that's coming. Everyone is equal and you should treat everyone equally. Just listen to them so that you'll be able to help them. Do you have any swage on the call? Was exactly, please, solo HR people, please also share your experience before we end this session. I'm also looking, at what point does, good question. What point does, when balls start dropping? So sometimes there are super HR people that they can take and just dive.
You may need to read the question.
Yes, is that at what point does a solo HR need to push for an extra hand? What are the signals? Yes. Is that the question?
Yes.
Yes. So there are super HR people that dive and catch and do all that. But you need to ask yourself, you barely caught a ball, right? You barely caught another ball. The question you should ask yourself is this even for the benefit of the organization that we have just one person, right? When you realize, right, that the business is growing, right, that the people needs are getting more complex, right, that more needs to be done beyond the fundamental. Critically, more needs to be done beyond the fundamental. You must start selling the case at different people. You know who the approvals will come from. You know where the resistance will come from. And you must sell it in such a way that you understand the state of the business. And so you're not looking for a hammer to kill a mosquito, right? You're seeing the indicators, oh, we need this, we need this, we need, man, the business is growing, the people needs are getting more complex, we need more to be done. You start selling the case and sell it in such a way that it's an efficient, you're not getting a large, getting a large person to support a large person. You know, what is the most efficient level that can come in to provide growth for the business? That's what I think anyway. How did this webinar topic occur to you? Do we have any, okay, how did this webinar topic, so is it, how did it happen to me? Is that a question? How did this webinar topic occur? So how does, okay. So, I mean, that's where I evolved from, right? And so it is what I have experienced. You know how they say, people that read the good book, you know how they say the things that we've handled, the thing that's what we talk about, right? It is what has been, I mean, I've gone beyond that now, but these are the things that I handled. These are what I had to go through. right? And these are the ways that these are the ways I had to solve the problem, right? Constant learning, constant being on top of it. I'm not just talking things that are over my head. Trust me, I've gone through this and I know that it can be done. And I know that we can add value to our businesses from the solo HR perspective. And I know we can continue adding that value.
Thank you so much, Akudo. It has been very, very enriching, very enlightening. One more final call. Is there anyone on this call right now, maybe a solo HR currently, or you also used to be a solo HR and just want to share your experience via voice? If you raise your hands, we'll be able to allow you to speak. But I can see some information here from Victoria Abimbola, okay, and I'll read it out quickly. Victoria Abimbola said, what I learned as a solo HR and how I got myself out of solo in the same organization. Okay, so speaking from my own experience right now, she says, don't be a yes person. Don't forget about yourself. Know who you are, be relevant. Okay, create this tag that everybody just wants to come to you for help. Don't get too engrossed with the administrative part of the job. Be very careful while making decisions. Any silly little decision made by the management that you are aware of. Okay, I'm trying to follow it. I think some other messages are dropping. Okay, okay, I will have wished you just said it, because once the message is getting long, it may disappear as it is disappearing right now. So be very careful while making decisions. Any silly decisions made by the management that you are aware of and do not advise against will bounce back on you, even if they are the one who made the decision. Be diplomatic. Don't be too friendly and don't be too rigid. She also says here, don't be untidy. Walk around the department. Know what is happening everywhere. Stay relevant. Measure your performance. Don't wait for anyone to do that for you. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? What is your plan? And how do you want to get there? Create your own scene. Gradually get yourself out of the solo game. These and many more are what I did and grew from the HR person to the group HR. Thank you so much, Abimbola, for your solo contributions. Just kidding here. So Onika Ode here says, I've been a solo HR for the past 5 years. It is so draining with no time. And I connect directly with what you are saying. That's what our facilitator, Akudo Nwuzu, has been saying so far tonight. I am a first timer here. I'm glad to be here and look forward to more insight and practical teachings on this platform. Thank you to our facilitator. Okay, again, for your sake, I'll drop the YouTube link. We have about 207 webinar sessions we've done so far around different area domains, which you will find extremely useful. I also share on how to become a member of this family so that you are not solo. Okay, we are a community of HR and you can always use us as your sounding board anytime. Yetunde Akintoye says, being a solo HR doesn't give one the room to enjoy work-life balance. It is draining. Yetunde, what came to my mind is, hey, yeah, I can feel for you right now. But our facilitator too said, take care of yourself, take care of your mental health, plan your leave and find a way to go. At least there'll be 1 or 2 off-peak periods in the business cycle so that they won't always turn down your leave. All right.
Sorry, Remy, let me say something. So you have to remember your HR. If anything happens to any staff, remember there's business contingency. You move on and recruit someone. If anything happens to you, the business also will move on. So as you want to do everything to be amazing, to an amazing HR person to your organization, remember you have to be alive first to be a HR person. So please actually deliberately take time. I agree with Yemi. Deliberately take time and take care of yourself.
Okay. Please, if you have any closing comments, this is the time for that. Akudo, your closing remarks.
Okay. Well, I think just it's really been said. I would use what this lady said, right? It is really draining to be solo HR, and so a number of people have said it's really draining because the thing is that in fact there's someone that talked about being a solo HR and admin at the same time. Just realize that it's going to be a lot of work, right? And just leverage resources. Take care of yourself and look for resources to leverage. Look for resources to leverage. There's information out there. There are people that can help you. There are ways to do things faster. And don't be ashamed to learn. Don't be ashamed to reach out. Don't be ashamed. You can do it. You can do it. You're not going to be the first solo HR person. You're not going to be last, right? The objective is what do you learn? What do you learn out of the process so that you're being a better person? Because you will never always be a solo HR person. You will evolve to start leading a team. So this is the time where you grow that bit of actually leading teams. So you can do it. I encourage everyone listening, you can do it. Just use all the strategies, leverage your resources, and then go and just make a great impact in your business.
Thank you so much, Akudo and Wuzu. This has been phenomenal. And I'd like to thank everyone who has contributed tonight in one way or the other. Let me just quickly recap the final thought as shared by Oiza on the chat box. Very beautiful submissions and contributions. First, he said, let line managers handle some responsibilities. Never forget that line managers are actually part of the HR department.
Yes.
Never forget that.
Yes.
Even if you are not a solo HR, leverage on your
Yes.
line managers as much as possible. Very beautiful. Another point Isa mentioned is that you should also ask for help from willing staff. So imagine this is an example. Maybe you want to do end of year party and it's on you. You can throw it out that, oh, you need 5 volunteers for the end of year party. So you just have a committee and some of the loads and burden can be taken off you, and additional creativity and innovation can be infused into it. Of course, depending on what it is, if it is not confidential. Let me see. All right. I think that has been very, very, very helpful. That has been very, very, very helpful. And it is a convenient time to close for tonight. Permit me to please once again celebrate, appreciate sincerely from our heart our facilitator for tonight. You see, it's one thing to reach out to people and say, we need facilitators, and they come forward. That is beautiful, and we commend that. But it's now another different thing for the facilitator to reach out to say, I want to teach something. Not only that, tell us exactly what they want to teach, and it's now something novel that meets a very peculiar need. And that's why I asked that final question. How did you think about this topic? Because it's a very germane topic and very useful, and it's not something you will readily find resources for. Okay, so maybe you want to do a blog or something or LinkedIn around this, you will see that you will get a lot of readership and thought processes shared around it. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your vacation. And to our Muslim brothers and sisters, and those of us that love them, happy Eid. All right.
Happy Eid.
Thank you so much.
Happy Eid. Thank you, Yemi.
Happy Eid. Good night,
All
everyone.
right.
Bye.
Good night.
Even though we do not see it.